Hello students, a very good evening to all and welcome back to Daily Current Affairs. So today we shall be covering the current affairs of last 1 week. So actually today I haven't taken the live daily current affairs class. So here I shall be including the current affairs of today also. So the entire 1 week current affairs will be covered in this class. So first of all, let's start with the discussion of today's current affairs. Then we shall be going for the current affairs of yesterday, day before yesterday, etc. So here our first important article is related to recent SRS survey. So here the survey says that birth rate, infant death rate, as well as the birth rate, death rate, as well as IMR, all these things have fallen. So it is a very good thing for India. So we shall be discussing about the survey. We shall be discussing some of the important data which you can use in your mains exam and the significance of that. Now, second article is related to three language formula of India. So recently what CBSE has done, it has made compulsory the three language rule starting from class 9th. So that's why concerns are raised by the parents. So here we shall be discussing what is the complete issue. Next important article is related to Agni-1 ballistic missile. So if we talk from prelims point of view, so the basics of any kind of missile is very important, and especially the Agni series. All the Agni series are very important, especially Agni 5, which is every time in news. But today Agni-1 is in news, so we shall be discussing about Agni-1. Next article is very important. So I took this article from PIB. So this article discusses about thermal energy storage system. So actually we have discussed many times that though India have a lot of potential of solar energy generation, solar power generation, but we do not have the sufficient storage capacity. So here from that point of view, this article will be very important. And finally, an interesting article, I took this article from Down to Earth. So here we shall be discussing some of the important characteristics of Mishmi tribe, as well as where these tribes are found in India. So yes, let's start with the survey. So yes, according to recent SRS survey means the sample registration survey. So see, first of all, let's discuss briefly about this survey. So see, this is the recent SRS survey, that is sample registration 2024 survey. So basically, what is the purpose of this survey? This survey provides in detail the demographic characteristics of India. So at present, this survey is telling us that the birth rate, the death rate, as well as infant mortality rate, that is IMR, has been reduced in India. So briefly, let's discuss about the recent findings, then we will analyze the complete issue. So see, these are the recent findings. So SRS survey is saying that there are changing trends in India. How? If we talk about birth rate, so basically there is comparison between in a complete decade. So we are comparing between 2014 as well as 2024. So if we talk about birth rate, so birth rate has been significantly reduced from 21 to around 18.3. If we talk about death rate, it has been reduced. So though it has been reduced by a small amount, but good thing is it has been reduced. So it has been reduced from 6.7 to 6.4. Very important finding is the infant mortality rate, and that has been reduced from 39 to 24. Now you can ask the question that why we are studying this data. Can we remember this? So see, this kind of data is very important from mains perspective. So easily, whenever any question comes about demographic characteristics or population, you can easily quote this data, that this is data from recent SRS survey 2024. So no, you can by heart this complete table. Very important from exam point of view, especially for mains. Now, if you talk that, ma'am, what is important for prelims here? Important for prelims here is definition of all these indicators, definition of birth rate, definition of death rate, as well as definition of infant mortality rate. Not in UPSC, first of all, birth rate is happening, 1,000 number was happening, 1,000 Okay, so we were discussing that for mains point of view, we discussed that this data is important. So you can easily compare whenever you are writing the answer, you can compare the data for this complete decade from 2014 to 2024. Now, if we talk about the prelims, so for prelims, actually prelims or for that matter, any government exam definition is very important. So if we talk about birth rate, so what is birth rate? Birth rate means births per thousand population. Very simple. If we talk about death rate, so death rate means deaths which are happening per thousand population. And if we talk about infant mortality rate or infant deaths, so that is very important because this might be confusing. So what is IMR or infant mortality rate? It is infant deaths which is happening per thousand live births. So basically it is infant deaths. Infant deaths means before 1 year of age. So infant deaths which are happening per thousand live births. So it is not per population, per thousand population. No, it is not per thousand population. It is per thousand live births. So here we have discussed what is important for mains and also what is important for prelims. So please remember this data for mains as well as definition specially for prelims. Now, let's discuss some of the other points. So actually we already discussed about SRS. SRS means the sample registration system. So what is sample registration system? Basically, it's a kind of survey. It's a kind of demographic survey of India. So it tells about birth rate, death rate, infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate. So everything related to demographic characteristics. So here we already discussed that what are the major trends. So see, the data we already discussed. So what is the trend? Trend means whether it has increased, it has been decreased, or it remained the steady form. So trend is that everything have reduced or everything have fallen. But important point that death rate have not fallen a lot, and you can consider death rate as steady also. See why I am discussing this trend, because from here we shall be discussing a very important concept, and that important concept is the demographic transition. So now if I ask you the reason that why all these things are falling, what is the reason for that? So here the reason for that is because in India demographic transition is happening. In India, demographic transition is happening. Very, very important concept for the exam. So if I'm saying that each and everything which we are discussing here is showing the reducing trend or decreasing trend, what is the reason for that? Reason is India is undergoing the process of demographic transition. Now let's discuss the process of demographic transition. Actually, it is very interesting also. See, here this is the complete process of demographic transition. So see, this axis will show the birth rate or death rate, and this axis will show the time period, that is before independence, after independence, and after birth rate and death rate have reduced a lot, all these periods it is shown. So here this is the first stage. This is the first stage of demographic transition. So maybe you can consider this stage before the independence of India. So before independence, India had high birth rate also, and India had high death rate also, because since people did not have good health facilities or good education facilities, that's why birth rate was very high, because people don't have any idea that no, maybe their children will survive or not. That's why birth rate was very high, because death rate was very high. Now, over a period of time, what happened after independence? The education facilities, the health facilities started to improve in India. That's why, since health facilities started to improve, that's why you can see in second phase of demographic transition, death rate is reducing. Though birth rate is still same, because education level was not that high, but still death rate was reducing. So this was the important concept. So in first phase, what was happening? Birth rate was also very high, death rate was also very high. In second phase, though birth rate is still high, but here death rate is reducing. So this will easily, so this is showing the efforts of the government of India, that government has invested a lot in health facilities. Now over a period of time, what happened? There come the decade of 2010. So now again what happened? Again what happened? The education facilities improved more. women started to get education, when the awareness among the women increased, women started doing jobs. That's why the expectation of more and more children reduced. That's why here you can see that in this phase birth rate is also reducing and death rate has become almost steady. So this is the meaning of demographic transition. Demographic transition means how birth rate and death rate are changing based on different social, educational, and health parameters of any country. So if I ask you the question that at present India is in which phase of demographic transition, so you can say that India is in this phase. That means third phase of demographic transition. That means death rate have almost stabilized. So here from this data you can easily see that death rate have not reduced much. So it went from 6.7 to 6.4. That means death rate have not changed much. So here it is showing it has not changed much, but birth rate has been reduced. So easily you can say that at present India is in the third stage of demographic transition. Very, very important concept. Now, if I ask you that in which stage the developed countries, for example, China or Japan are. So here you can say that developed countries are in the fourth stage of demographic transition because their birth rate is also very low and death rate is also very low. India is not in that stage because in India still we have high birth rate and the major contribution is from the rural population. If in urban population we talk, so here women are more educated, women are doing job, that's why women are expecting less children. So this was the overall concept. So this is the way in which you analyze any particular topic. So this graph you can easily make in any answer related to population or demography. Now here the related concept is the age and sex pyramid. So this thing also you can make in any answer. I will explain this. See what happens in age sex pyramid. See, basically this is the axis which is showing the overall population and this is the axis which is showing the age. So here this particular age is the age of dependents. That means the children who are below the age of 18. And this is the proportion of the working population of any country and this is the proportion of the old age population of any country. Now I am going country by country. If we are talking about the developing or underdeveloped countries, so basically if we are talking about developing or underdeveloped countries, so here what is happening here, birth rate is very high. Birth rate is very high. That means this axis will be very large. This length will be very large because birth rate is high. Here death rate is also very high. Death rate is high. That means very less number of people are able to go to the old age because they die before 1 year only. So here whenever you see this kind of triangular kind of pyramid, so here easily you can say this is pyramid related to developing or underdeveloped countries because here birth rate is very high. That's why this portion is very high. Death rate is also very high. That's why we have low amount of old age population. And that too the working population is also very low because can you see the working population is also reducing. Now on the contrary, if you look towards the developed countries pyramid, so basically if we are talking about the developed countries pyramid, so what is happening here, since women are more educated, women are expecting less number of children. That means see this length is very less, this length is very less. That means less births are happening. Now see less births are happening but the education and health facilities are very good. That means the population which is reaching the working age, that population is surviving. And that means see here as you can see the population which was reaching the working age, it was not able to reach the old age because health facilities were not good. But if we are talking about the developed countries, so here the population who are reaching the working age, so they are able to complete that working age and they are able to enter the old age. So here, see, this is complete opposite. Here we have in developing countries, we have this kind of pyramid, and in developed countries, we have somewhat inverted kind of pyramid. So these are the basic things which you can use in any answer of population. Now, here the important question is that why this is happening. Why this is happening means why birth rate, why death rate is reducing in India. So as we already discussed through demographic transition graph, that healthcare facilities are increasing in India. For example, we can discuss about Ayushman Bharat Yojana. So their health insurance is being provided for the beneficiaries. Second thing is about the immunization. So see, earlier India had more number of deaths because of the communicable diseases, but now India have vaccination for almost for almost all the diseases, though some diseases are there which we do not have vaccination. But if we compare from previous times, immunization or vaccination have improved a lot. Next thing is about the education, and especially about the women education. So women education is improving in India. That's why awareness among the women is also improving in India, and that's why we are seeing less number of child, because nowadays more number of children are seen as a burden on the family. Next thing is about the urbanization. So urbanization is directly related to better education facilities, better health facilities. Because see, if you are very good, if you have very good education, you will be doing a very good job, and mostly very good jobs are located in the urban areas only. So that's why urbanization has also important role to play. And finally, improved maternal care. So improved maternal care, here also we can discuss about the various government schemes. So here the institutional deliveries have improved. Here nutrition have been improved, prenatal care, postnatal care have been improved. So these are the reasons why India is seeing low birth rate as well as low death rate. But here important thing has been highlighted in the article, that though all these things are reducing, but these things are not even across the India. Why? Because we are seeing nowadays rural and urban divide. Why? Because see, if we are talking about better education, or if we are talking about better health facilities, then in all these things urban areas will win, because urban areas have all these kind of good facilities. But still in rural areas these kind of facilities are lacking, because in rural areas, in primary healthcare centers, we do not have doctor even for the basic things. So that's why India is seeing a basic rural as well as urban divide. Okay. Now, if we talk about the best performing states which was given in the survey, so best performing state in India is Kerala, because Kerala has infant mortality rate of just 8, and Tamil Nadu has just, you can say, other states are performing in the categories. Yes, so we already discussed about the best performing states. So basically, you can say that southern states are performing very good in the demographic parameters. And the major concerns we already discussed, that there is rural urban divide, and there is uneven state performance. So we cannot say overall that the birth rate or death rate has been reducing in urban India also as well as rural India. So there are major concerns related to education as well as health. So if we talk about the way forward, so what is the way forward? That we must work on the rural India also. We must improve the facilities in the primary healthcare centers, and we must ensure the doctors availability 24/7, at least for the basic diseases. Now here, if we talk about the significance, that what is the significance of reducing birth rate, death rate, or infant mortality rate? The significance is, see, if we have if we have very low death rate, then more and more population will be entering the working age. More and more people will be in the working age population, and hence it will help us to reap the benefits of demographic dividend in India. But here, one more important thing, that India have to be very careful, because if the birth rate is reducing in India, then what will be the immediate benefit? That more and more people will be entering the working age. But after a decade or after few years, the old age population will also start increasing in India. And what will be the impact? The impact will be the proportion of dependent population in India will start increasing. So more and more expenditure will be given for the pensions, more and more expenditure will be given for the healthcare. So that's why India must be very careful that how India is using its demographic dividend at present, as well as India must be ready for the future increasing old age population. Now, next article is related to three language formula. Okay, so recently what happened that under a three language policy, CBSE has made three languages compulsory for class 9 students. So what is the concept here? That recently from class 9th, what will happen? From class 9th, what will happen? Students have to learn three languages. So in three languages, two will be Indian languages and one language will be foreign language. So in two Indian language, so one language will be your local language, and second will be any other Indian language what you want to learn, and other will be the foreign language. So what happened that CBSE had made compulsory. This is not voluntarily that you can learn other two languages, but this has been made mandatory. And why CBSE has done this? Because CBSE is saying that National Education Policy 2020 wanted to promote multilingualism in India, so that each and every citizen of this country, each and every student have idea of more than one language, because it enhances the cognitive ability also. So that's why this was the objective. So what was the rule? That at least it must have two Indian languages and one language can be foreign language. But CBSE has also given some clarification, because many CBSE that foreign language is. So CBSE said that though we are intended to learn foreign language, but that foreign language will not be included in the board exam, only included in students. Okay. So now let's discuss that why this was a major concern for students as well as parents. So see, parents are saying that this decision is not wrong, but the sudden implementation of this decision is wrong. Why? Because see, you are talking to introduce this decision from class 9th. So class 9th, class 10th, class 11th, and so on. So see, if you are introducing this decision for class 9th, then this will be a major setback, because it will put an extra burden on the students, because already class 10 students are burdened for their academic performance. But if you are again putting the burden of this three language formula, then this thing will pressurize the students only, and it may reduce their performance also. And second thing is the increased academic burden. So this we already discussed, because already students have various kind of pressures. For example, peer pressure. For example, increasing the scores in the academic performance. So this will increase the pressure only. And third thing about the board exams, that class 10 students are very worried about the board exams. Now they have to worry to score good in two languages also, because though CBSE has said that foreign language may not be important, it will not be covered in board exams, but two Indian languages will be covered. So now they have to learn two Indian languages also, and there will be difficulty in learning new language quickly. Because see, since we discussed about foreign language that it is very difficult to learn, that's why it will not be included in board exams. But same thing applies to other second Indian language also, right? If we are talking about mother tongue, that is okay. But here, what is CBSE saying? That you have to learn second Indian language also. So all these things will be very difficult for the students, and that's why parents are raising concern related to this. Now, next article is related to Agni-1 ballistic missile. So recently, this Agni-1 ballistic missile was successfully launched. The test was successfully done. So that's why this topic was in news. So see, earlier we have discussed many times about Agni-5. So basically, what is Agni-5? This is intercontinental ballistic missile. So ballistic missile means you will launch this missile from here. you will launch this missile and then you will leave it. So this missile will not be guided. So if you leave this missile, it would follow a parabolic path, a ballistic path. That's why we call it as intercontinental ballistic missile. And intercontinental, why? Because range is very high. If we talk about Agni 1, so Agni 1 is also ballistic missile. That's why, that means you launch this missile, you leave it, it will follow a parabolic path. And this is also nuclear capable. So please remember that Agni 1, which was in news, this is also a nuclear capable as well as ballistic missile. Now, yes, just a second. Is it visible? Huh. Okay, so now if we talk about basic features of this missile, so first important thing is this is a single stage missile. So see, if we talk about LMV3 rocket, so LMV3 rocket is a 3-stage rocket, right? So in first stage it has single stage. So in first stage it has solid fuel, then it has liquid fuel, then it has cryogenic fuel. So here this missile is a single stage missile. So it just has a single stage. Second important thing is that here solid fuel will be used. No liquid fuel, no cryogenic fuel. Will be yes. And if we talk about the range, so here range is 700 kilometers to 1200 kilometers. Because if we talk about Agni 5, so range of Agni 5 is very high, but here the range is from 700 kilometers to 1200 kilometers. Now here we will be discussing about the two kind of variants. So here first variant is the short range and second variant is the medium range. So basically if you are using very heavy payload, then the range will be short. And if we are using very light payload, then you can reach to the medium range. So that's why we are discussing that range will vary from 700 to 1200 kilometers. So here 700 kilometer range, that means you are using heavy payload, and 1200 kilometers, that means you are using very lighter payload. So here if we talk about the prelims, what is important for the prelims? So all these characteristics are important, that it is single stage, it uses solid fuel, as well as it is ballistic, and range is also important. Now, another important thing about this is that it can be launched from various kind of platforms. For example, it can be launched from road mobile launchers, as well as it can be launched from the rail mobile launchers. So the importance of this is that if this can be launched from the mobile platforms, then we can use it very easily during the wars, and we can use it during the wars, and that too it will be difficult for the enemy to detect all these kind of system. So that's why this is more important. Now, if we talk about overall Agni program, so overall Agni program was started under integrated guided missile development program. What is the importance for that? See, this is a brainchild of APJ Abdul Kalam. It was launched in 1983, and if you talk about various other missiles, for example, Prithvi, Akash, or Agni, all these missiles come under integrated guided missile development program. So please remember this, and actually remember year also. 1983 year is also important. Yes. Okay. So now next important article. Just a second. Yes. So here next important article is about the thermal storage system. So this article I took from PIB. So this is cost-effective, high-performance thermal battery material is developed for the clean energy storage. So here let's discuss what is the context. So in the context, so basically researchers have announced the development of low-cost, high-performance spinal nanocomposite phase change material. And what is the purpose of this phase change material? It helps any system to trap the heat so that later it can be converted in the form of energy. So that is the importance of phase change material. Now let's discuss these things. So basically, if we talk about the thermal energy storage system, so what is this? So basically, this system will store the heat energy, and this heat energy can later be converted into electricity. So basically, it will work like a thermal battery. So earlier also we discussed that though India have very high potential to use solar energy and convert it into electricity, but India did not have any storage system. So that's why all these kind of materials like phase change materials will help us to store heat energy so that we can convert it into electricity. Now, what will be the sources of heat? That it will trap heat from what all sources? So first of all, so solar energy only, it can trap the heat. It can trap the heat from the industrial waste also, as well as it can trap heat from the other renewable energy plants. So it will trap the heat and later it can be converted into electricity. Now, yes, here materials are very important, because if we are saying that any heat trapping system is using some materials to trap the heat, then what all kind of materials are used? The first important thing is that materials used are some kind of molten salts. So here molten salts are used to trap the heat, and sometimes thermal oils are also used. Thermal oils to trap the material. And the recent news is about the phase change materials. So third thing is the phase change materials. So if it has been asked in the prelims that what all materials can be used under thermal energy storage system to store the energy, so molten salts can be used, thermal oils can be used, as well as phase change materials can be used. Now see, since the news is about the phase change material, so let's discuss in detail. So phase change material, what will happen? Phase change, so by the name only you can understand the phase will be changed. That means it can become solid to liquid or liquid to solid. So what will happen? See, if this phase change material is trapping the heat, so what will happen? This will be converted from solid to liquid. So since it has trapped heat, it will be converted from solid to liquid. For example, if the ice is absorbing heat, then it will be converted into liquid. Similarly, this phase changing material, when it absorbs the heat, it will be converted into liquid. And when it will release the heat, so that it can be converted into electricity. So when it is releasing the heat, then again it will become solid. So this is the major significance of this phase change material. Now, in the news, this was the recent discovery of scientists that since this phase change material is important, right? Now, what scientists did? Scientists added tiny amount of nanoparticles, nanoparticles of some metal oxide. So what was the finding? That if we add a tiny amount of nanoparticles from some metal oxide to phase changing material, then the ability of material to trap heat increases a lot. That means it increases to around 40 to 45%. So this was the major finding, that nanoparticles can be used to increase the heat trapping capacity of any material, of any phase changing material. Okay, so this was the overall news. Now, yes. Next important article is very interesting. So basically, this article is related to Idu Mishmi tribe of Arunachal Pradesh. And as we have already discussed that UPSC more and more ask about the questions of various kind of tribes in India. So that's why this topic is important. So let's discuss in detail. Okay, so this is Idu Mishmi tribe. Is it visible? Yes. So let's discuss complete article and some of the characteristics of Idu Mishmi tribe. See, tell me, can it happen that what if the people protect the forest What if people are protecting the forest, but they are protecting this forest not because of any law or because of any policy? They are protecting the forest because they consider forest as sacred. So can this situation be possible? Can this happen that people are protecting the forest not because of any law, but because of their belief that forests are sacred? So this complete thing is being discussed in the article, which we will be discussing now. So basically, the article is saying that what will happen if the traditional beliefs of these tribes will slowly disappear, because here we are discussing about the Idu-Mishmi tribe. So here, Idu-Mishmi tribes are the tribes which consider forest as very sacred. That's why they do not want to harm the forest. The article is discussing what will happen if slowly these kind of traditional beliefs disappear. What will happen to this tribe? So here, if we start with the introduction, so Idu-Mishmi are the important tribes of Arunachal Pradesh in India. Very, very important for the prelims. State is important, and in state, the major areas are also important. So if we talk about the state, so where Idu-Mishmi are present, they belong to Arunachal Pradesh state of India. So these are the indigenous tribal community of Arunachal Pradesh. And that too in Arunachal Pradesh, if we talk, so in Arunachal Pradesh, they belong to Lower Dibang Valley as well as Lohit Valley. So these are the areas where Idu-Mishmi tribes are found in the Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so these were the important points for prelims. Now, next important thing is that we already discussed that for Idu-Mishmi tribes, forests are very sacred, right? So for them, forests are very sacred. For they consider animals as their relatives, and they consider that nature, the overall nature, have some spiritual value. Because of all these beliefs only, for a long period of time, they were able to conserve forest in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, if we talk about their hunting rules, so as we have already discussed that they consider forest as sacred. That's why they do not, no, they do not perform any reckless kind of hunting. There are some ethics, there are some rules for hunting. For example, they have some kind of traditional hunting ethics, like so whenever there is breeding season of animals, so during that time they will not hunt the animals. Or if any animal is pregnant, they will not hunt that animal. So that's why all these kind of ethics are being considered, all these values are considered ethical under Idu-Mishmi tribe. So see, we already discussed that for Idu-Mishmi tribe, the forest is very sacred, right? And they consider animals as their relatives. So here, special mention I am giving of tiger animal. So for Idu-Mishmi tribe, tiger is considered as their elder brother. For Idu-Mishmi tribe, they consider tiger as the elder brother. That's why in this tribe, killing tiger is a taboo, and that's why they can protect the tiger population very easily, because they will never kill the tiger, because they consider tiger as their elder brother. Now, since we discussed that, since we Yes. So here now we will be discussing that what will happen if anything is threatening all these ethical or traditional values of Idu-Mishmi tribes. So what all things can threaten? Yes. Good evening. Yes, so what all things can threaten these traditional values of Idu-Mishmi tribe? See, if people from other states are going to Arunachal Pradesh, right? Or if roads and railways can easily build, that means people can easily move from one state to Arunachal Pradesh. Or any type of religious conversion is happening, or market integration is being happening under any government scheme, or migration that to illegal migration is happening from the bordering countries. If all these things are happening, these can threaten the traditional values of Idu-Mishmi tribe. And that's why there is a kind of fear, or there is a kind of fear under this tribe, that all these things can threaten our value, and all these things can threaten the forest in that region. Okay. Yes. Now, next important article is row over Vande Mataram being made mandatory in the West Bengal madrasas. So this is very important article. So what happened recently? Recently, in madrasas in West Bengal, the government had made mandatory to what government had mandatory? Government had mandatory to sing the Vande Mataram compulsorily in the madrasas. So here, government is saying that this rule will be applicable to all the kind of madrasas. All the kind means they will be applicable to government madrasas also, government aided also. See, government madrasas which is established completely under the government. Aided madrasas means they are not complete under the control of government, but they are funded by the government. And recognized unaided means, see, anything, any institute cannot exist if it is not recognized by the government, though it is not receiving any funding or support, but it is recognized. So basically, West Bengal government said that this rule of singing of Vande Mataram will be applicable on all the in all the madrasas in West Bengal. Now here, with what objective government introduced this thing, this singing of Vande Mataram? Government wanted to promote patriotism in the country. Because as you know that Vande Mataram was sung by the freedom fighters also before 1947. What was the reason for that? Reason for that was that Vande Mataram could easily propagate the anti-British sentiments among the Indians. So that's why Vande Mataram was used to promote patriotism as well as national unity. So here also in present times also government wanted to do the same thing. So see, on the face of it, everything looks good, everything seems good, nothing is wrong. But the problem starts from here. How the problem starts? The problem is, see, earlier, as we have already discussed that earlier also Vande Mataram was used by freedom fighters to promote the feeling of national unity. Then why it is wrong now? See, earlier when freedom fighters were using Vande Mataram, they used starting two stanzas of Vande Mataram. And first two stanzas of Vande Mataram are secular in nature. That means they do not have any mention of religious figure. Because see, if it is having any mention of religious figure and you are asking person of any other religion to praise that song or to sing that song, it will obviously hurt the religious sentiments. So that's why it is a cause of major concern among the Muslim population. Why? Because the later stanzas are containing the Hindu goddess imagery. See, let's discuss. These are the last two stanzas of Vande Mataram. What it is saying? Bahute tumi ma shakti, Hriday tumi ma bhakti. So this is mentioning the Hindu goddess. Here what is saying? Tvam hi Durga Dharini. Vani Vidya Daini. This is mentioning goddess Durga. This is mentioning goddess Saraswati. So this is a major cause of concern. So Muslim students are saying that why we are being forced to sing those stanzas which is mentioning Hindu goddess, which is praising Hindu goddess. So you can imagine yourself, no, if a person from any Hindu community is forced to sing anything which he or she does not want to sing, or he or she is being forced to sing anything from any other religion. So this will not be good, right? So same thing is happening here, that why Muslim students are being forced to sing something which they do not even mean. So here the idea of the article is that if you want to promote patriotism among the citizens in the country, don't do it forcibly. Because if you are forcing, and even after forcing the students are singing, it is not promoting any feeling of patriotism. You are just forcing them. Any patriotic feeling must come from the heart, not by forcing anyone. So this was the main concept. Now, since we are discussing about Vande Mataram, so let's quickly discuss about the prelims related facts. So what are those prelims related facts? First of all, who composed it? So it is composed by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. And novel of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee is also important, in which Vande Mataram was included. So it was included in novel Anand Math in 1882. So name of novel as well as year is also important, because year of Anand Math is also already been asked in UPSC. Next thing is, this Vande Mataram was set to music by Rabindranath Tagore. So Rabindranath Tagore gave it music. This we already discussed, that first two verses were adopted in 1937 by Indian National Congress to promote the feeling of nationalism. If we talk about independent India, so it was adopted as the national song of India on 24th January 1950. So this date is very important. So on this date, Jangan Man was adopted as the national anthem and Vande Mataram was adopted as the national song. Now, tell me whether the exact lyrics or exact mention of this song is done in Constitution of India or not. So here the answer will be no. So in Constitution of India does not mention the lyrics or does not mention of the lyrics of national anthem as well as national song. So just in Article 51A, it is mentioned that citizens must respect the Constitution, national flag, as well as national anthem. So please remember, Constitution of India does not say that this is our national anthem or this is our national song. So please remember that. And one more important thing, since when we were analyzing this article, that since here we are talking about madrasas, so madrasas come under the minority educational institutions. And as you already know that minority educational institutions have fundamental right under Article 30, that all the minorities have the right to administer, have the right to establish the institutions of their own choice without any government interference. So if government is forcing the students to sing Vande Mataram, all the 6 stanzas, then it will be the violation of fundamental right. Now, next important article is related to BCCI, which is a board which is managing cricket in India. So this article is discussing whether BCCI can be considered as a public authority under RTI Act, that is Right to Information Act. So here, basically, we are talking about BCCI, that is Board of Control for Cricket in India. So recently, so this is a complete debate that whether it comes under public authority or not. So recently, what happened? CIC, that is Competition Commission of India, it has said that BCCI is not a public authority. BCCI is not a public authority under RTI Act. So basically, if BCCI is not a public authority, then BCCI does not have any obligation to put anything in the public domain. So it can hide anything, because if it is included in public authority, then you have to answer the questions which are asked under RTI Act. But if it is not public authority, no transparency, nothing. Now, what was the reason why CIC said that? Because the reason for this is that CIC is saying that since it is not created by constitution, nor it is created by any law which was made by the parliament, nor it is substantially government funded, then how you can say that BCCI is a public authority? So that's why BCCI said that it do not have any obligation to put forward anything in the public domain. Now here the argument is that if we are saying that this is not a public authority, then this will be a major setback to the sports governance in India. Because you cannot say that any sport body, any body which is related to sports is not supported by any government of India. See, here we will prove that there are various instances in which we can say that BCCI, though not substantially funded by the government, but BCCI is supported indirectly by the state governments as well as central government. How you can say that? See, first important thing is that BCCI receives various kind of tax exemptions in India, right? BCCI also uses the land which is subsidized by the government, as well as BCCI is using the complete public infrastructure. Then how you can say that BCCI is not supported by the government? And that too, BCCI is doing various kind of public functions. What are those public functions? BCCI is managing the affairs of Indian cricket team. BCCI is representing India on the international platform. That's why yes, based on all these arguments, we can easily say that yes, BCCI is being supported by the government, as well as BCCI is performing public functions. So that's why we are saying that BCCI must be considered as a public authority under RTI Act. And another important thing is, already recommendations have been given by the various committees and commissions that BCCI must be included under RTI Act. So all these recommendations must also be, must be thought before. So Lodha Committee, Law Commission, all these committees, commissions have already said that BCCI must be considered as a public authority. That too, CIC, that is Competition Commission of India, in 2018 has already said that BCCI is a public authority, but now it has reversed its previous ruling. So here, just now, today, this week, Competition Commission of India said that BCCI is not under RTI yet, but earlier it has already said that BCCI comes under public authority under RTI Act. Now, see what is the argument for bringing BCCI under RTI Act. That means what will be the benefit if BCCI comes under RTI Act. See, as you know, that BCCI manages huge amount of financial resources. What BCCI is doing, it is managing huge amount of financial resources, and that too, these financial resources are coming from the success of the IPL matches, that is Indian Premier League matches. And any authority or any entity, if it is managing huge financial resources, then there are chances of corruption happening. That's why BCCI must come under public authority and must put each and everything in the public domain. Next important thing is that BCCI also have the broadcasting rights in India. Broadcasting rights in India, as well as BCCI is being sponsored by various authorities or various entities all over the world, as well as from India. That's why bringing BCCI under RTI Act is very, very important, because if BCCI is doing all these things, then there might be chances of corruption. So it is good that if you include this body under RTI Act. Now, next article is about the recent resolution which was adopted by United Nations General Assembly. So first of all, let's discuss complete thing. See, actually what happened in 2025, yes, just a second. Yes. So what happened in 2025? ICJ, that means International Court of Justice, have given an important advisory opinion. What was that advisory opinion? ICJ said that it will be the legal responsibility of countries all over the world to deal with the climate change. So what ICJ said? ICJ said, ICJ gave an advisory opinion that it will be the legal responsibilities of the country to fight climate change, to reduce the emissions, as well as to protect the environment. So this thing was done in 2025. Now, based on this advisory opinion of 2025, recently a Pacific island nation, that is Vanuatu, based on that advisory opinion, it has passed a resolution. It has moved a resolution. Okay, so what Vanuatu did? Vanuatu did, it moved the resolution based on the previous advisory opinion which was given by the ICJ. And what was this resolution related to? This resolution was related to the legal responsibilities of the country to deal with the climate change, to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So now, since Vanuatu has moved the resolution, recently United Nations General Assembly has adopted that resolution. That means majority of the countries in General Assembly have adopted the resolution which was passed by that country. So that resolution was passed by 141 countries. That means 141 countries were in favor. 8 countries were against and 28 countries did not vote. So in these 8 countries, important countries were USA and Russia. And under the countries who did not vote, important country was India. So let's now discuss that why India, yes, so let's discuss that why India refused to vote. So see, here main point of India is that India is not against any type of climate action, because India obviously wants that the impacts of climate change must be reduced. But India is saying that all these kind of opinions or all these kind of decisions must not come from any kind of court. Because why all these things happen? Because International Court of Justice gave the opinion. India is saying all these important discussions related to climate change must happen on the platform like UNFCCC. So this is the good platform in which you shall be discussing all these things. Any court must not tell us that what you must do and what you should not. So this was the main point of India, that all these things must happen on a legally valid platform and you must not listen to any type of court. Second thing is, India is saying that we must follow the principle of common but differentiated responsibility. That means that this is the responsibility of every country to reduce the impacts of climate change. But more responsibility will be of developed countries, because historically they were the major emitters, not the developing or underdeveloped countries. And India is saying if we adopt this resolution based on the ICJ decision, then it will put the unnecessary burden on the developing as well as developed countries. Now let's discuss that why USA voted against it. USA voted against it because at present USA is promoting the use of fossil fuels so as to generate more and more energy. That's why USA will not be wanting this, that developing countries must also feel the burden of reducing the impacts of climate change. Yes. Since we were discussing about International Court of Justice, so quickly let's discuss some of the prelims related points. The first important thing is about the year itself, that when this International Court of Justice was established. So it was established in 1945. Please remember, year is very, very important. Second thing is that International Court of Justice is one of the principal organ of United Nations. So see, basically United Nations have 6 principal organs, and out of that 6 principal organ, International Court of Justice, how we differentiate this from others, headquarters in itself, but only the headquarters in director details. So please remember, this is the difference. Out of principal organ, just organs have the same law. And one main purpose of it is activities between the countries. But important thing is it cannot give a binding decision. It can just give the advisory opinions. Yes. So here next important article is related to recent test of the Suryastra rocket. So we will not be going into much of the technicalities. Just we shall be discussing with respect to prelims, that what all things can be asked in the prelims. Okay. So if I say in simple language, what is Suryastra? So basically, Suryastra is an important rocket launcher of India. That's it. What is Suryastra? If UPSC asked in the exam, that so the term Suryastra was recently discussed in the news. In what context? So what is Suryastra? Suryastra is important rocket launcher of India. And what is the special thing related to this launcher? That this launcher can launch or fire any type of rocket. So it can launch or fire any type of rocket from its platform. Now, why this was in news? Because it was developed by NIBE Limited India. So this is a private company in coordination with company of Israel. So that's why this is showing in the defense area and private entering the defense, then it will enhance more and more innovative capabilities of India. It will improve the innovation, it will improve the flexibility. So that's why entry of private players are very important in India. Now, yes, we already discussed about Suryastra, that this is a rocket launcher. Important thing is that this is indigenous rocket launcher system of India. And this is universal multi-caliber any kind of rocket can be launched from this platform. And it is launched guided rocket launch. The range will be very, but it is until after that it will be no. You can guide this rocket launcher system. So basically, how it will help you? Just a second. Is that visible? Yes. So next thing about this launcher is that this is a surface to surface strike weapon. Now, if we talk about the strike range, so basically two types of ranges are discussed in the article. So first variant will be having the range of 150 kilometers. Second variant will be having the range of 300 kilometers. So basically, the range of 50 to 300 kilometers. Next thing is about the circular error probability. So it's about it. UPSC can ask the term circular probability is related to precision of illusion, precision of element. Error probability means the precision of element is very high. So here the precision of Suryastra weapon is very high because for the range of 300 kilometers, it has error of just 1.5 to 2 meters. That's why precision the circular error probable is very, very less. Now, let's discuss about the deep strike capability of this Suryastra. Deep strike capability means, for example, here you are standing in country A and you want to target the stations of enemy in country B. So you can do that. You can do all these things and you can penetrate deeply in the enemy's territory. This is the meaning of deep strike capability. That you are standing in country A, that means you are standing at a safe limit. You are very far away from that country, and even after that, you can penetrate deeply inside the enemy's territory. So you can target their command centers, you can target their radar stations, etc. etc. Now, if we talk about the special features, so multi-caliber launcher, we already discussed all the kind of rockets can be launched. Next thing is it can integrate the loitering munitions. So basically, loitering munitions are the kind of weapons. See, for example, this is your target. No, you have to strike this target. So loitering munitions are the kind of weapons which will hover around the target. They will try to rotate, they will hover around the target, and whenever they see the target, they will just strike, they will just attack. So basically, they are the kind of drones which will just hover above the target, and whenever they spot the target, they will just attack. So this is the meaning of loitering munitions. So these rockets can integrate the loitering munitions also. Next thing is precision guided. We already discussed. You can always control it. They are not like the intercontinental ballistic missile. So you can control all these kind of rockets. Next thing is long range standoff attack capability. Long range means 300 kilometers is actually very long range. You can stand at very safe limit and then also you can penetrate the enemy's territory. And standoff attack capability means standoff the same thing, that you can stand at the same limit and then also you can attack. This is the meaning of long range standoff attack capability. Now, if we talk about the significance, why it is important, so see, as you already know that majorly the important defense systems, India is important. So if India is using all these kind of indigenous systems, then it will reduce the dependence of India on other countries. So that's why this is of great significance. Next thing, that this thing is encouraging the entry of private players in the defense sector. So we already discussed, if private players are entering, they will improve the innovation, they will improve the flexibility. So overall, they will improve the productivity of defense sector in India. Next thing is, all these kind of systems are very important from national security point of view, because of the ongoing Russia Ukraine war, all these kind of systems were already in use. That high long range rocket launcher systems are no repeatedly used in various kind of wars which are recently happening. So that's why these kind of launcher systems are important from national security perspective also. Now, next important article is related to sperm whales. So recently, according to some findings, the clicks pattern which are done by the sperm whales, they are just similar to human speech. So see, if we talk about the sperm whales, so actually these sperm whales communicate each other which through a kind of sound, and that sound resembles the click sound which we are doing, the click sound. So whenever they communicate with each other, so they communicate with a click sound. So the article is saying that earlier we used to think that this click sound was just a random sound, but now we came to know that these clicks also have some kind of rhythm, some kind of patterns. So they are similar to the human speech. See how they are similar. See, if we say first pattern is click click. If I say click click, so click click means this is a one pattern of communicating. Next pattern can be click, then a pause, and then click click. So are you getting that this sound have different rhythm, this sound have different rhythm? That means here sperm whales are communicating different thing, here they are communicating different thing. So it's similar to, for example, if we talk about human speech, so here bet and bit. So what is happening here? If we are changing the vowel, the sound is also changing. So here also same thing is happening, that the clicks which are used by the sperm whales, they also have different kind of rhythms, they have different kind of spacing, they have different kind of tone. Because here when you are changing the vowel, tone is changing. So here also if we are changing the rhythm of click, tone will change. So this was the overall news. Next we will discuss some prelims related points. So first important thing is about the look only. So basically sperm whale is a dark blue, gray or brownish type of whale with the white patches on the belly. So here, see, this is the picture of sperm whale. So here basically these sperm whales are dark in color, dark grayish or dark brownish, and near the belly they have some white patches. Next thing is, they are the largest of the toothed whales. They are the largest of the toothed whales and one of the widest global distributions. Why? Because they are easily found in the tropical waters also, and they are easily found in the distribution. Now, could you tell me that these whales are considered as fishes? These whales are considered as, quickly tell me the function. Next comment that they are range of any animal, that the whale is range of any animal. I generally ask about these behaviors of some with social animals, having post and and for example, IUCN state of any species is also important. So the IUCN status of this species. Well, now here next important news. So here this news is related to the drug regulator in India. So recently the drug regulator had said that injectable cosmetics are not included under the category of cosmetics of Indian law. So let's discuss. Okay, so basically here we are talking about CDSCO, that is, yeah, just a second. Yes. So here we are talking about the clarification which was recently given by CDSCO. What is CDSCO? It is the India's national drug regulator, that is Central Drug Standard Control Organization. Now recently what clarification it has given? It has said that cosmetic products which are injectable, these kind of products are not permitted under Indian law. So which law deals with the cosmetic products in India? Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 as well as Cosmetics Rule 2020. these two laws and rules deal with the cosmetics in India. So recently, CDS CEO has said that under these rules, the definition of cosmetics is given, right? So in this definition of cosmetics, injectable drugs will not be included. So you can use any product which you are applying externally on the body. But if you are using anything which can be injected in the body, this is not permitted under Indian law. What is the reason for that? See, if you are using anything external, so maybe if everything goes good, not a problem. But even after external application, if you get some kind of side effect, then also that thing can be easily resolved. But if you are injecting anything inside the human body, then effect will be long term and maybe it can lead to death also. That's why this clarification was given that in India you cannot use anything which is injectable under the category of cosmetics. Why this kind of awareness was required? Because nowadays in India we are seeing various kind of beauty treatments. For example, the filler treatments, or for example, injections to for the skin brightening. And nowadays in social media, various kind of influencers are endorsing all these kind of products. That's why this clarification was very important. Yes. Now here, next important article is the definition of liquor bottle in India. So first of all, let's discuss the context. So recently what happened, an NGO, name of NGO is Community Against Drunken Driving. So recently, this NGO has filed a petition in the Supreme Court of India. And what was that petition? Petition was, since there is no definition of liquor bottle in India, that's why in various states liquor is being sold in any kind of packaging. So that packaging can be the Tetra packs also. That kind of packaging can be the juice-like containers also. So since there is no definition, it can harm to the general public or it can mislead to the juveniles or the children in the country. So this was the overall thing. So here, what is the main concern? That since this thing of liquor, this liquor or alcohol, all these things comes under the state list. That's why in various states, alcohol is being sold in various kind of packaging, like all these packagings. The problem here is that these packaging look similar to soft drinks or fruit juices, and even some of the packages mention green apple vodka or mango vodka. And since the branding is very colorful and very beautiful, this resembles fruit beverages. And what will be the impact of this? This will mislead the consumers. It can encourage drunken driving, because what it is saying, fruit beverages, so it can encourage drunken driving. Also, it can attract children and juveniles because the branding is very colorful and beautiful. So that's why this complete issue was raised in the Supreme Court of India. Now, what is the legal issue here is, legal issue is the subject of alcohol or liquor comes under the state list. So it comes under list 2 entry 8. So basically under the schedule 7, this comes under the state list. So that's why union government cannot make a central law for that. Since this is a part of state list, that means under normal circumstances, union government cannot make a uniform law. And even though even if union government makes a law, then also different states will implement that law in different ways. So that's why there is a federal aspect also. So what is the need of the hour? What is the requirement? Requirement is that there must be meeting of different members of the states, and there must be the consensus on how the packaging of liquor or alcohol bottles can be done. Second thing, you can give the health warnings also, like it is used in the tobacco packaging. So in that way also, the juveniles or children can be kept away from all these things. Now, next important article is related to exercise, that is known as Pragati. So here also we shall be discussing just the prelims related points. Yes. So what are the news? Recently, Pragati exercise took place. So Pragati means Partnership of Regional Armies for Growth and Transformation in the Indian Ocean Region 2026. So what is important for the exam? Important thing is what is this exercise? That means whether this exercise is between two countries or many countries are involved. So this is a multinational military exercise. Please remember, more than two nations are involved. Who hosted this exercise? So this exercise was hosted by India. What is the objective of this exercise? Objective is to focus on counter-terrorism operations, jungle warfare, military coordination, etc. etc. That means through these operations, we will check whether the militaries of different countries can coordinate with each other or not. Now, this is in Roi military station that is in Meghalaya. So, the venue or destination of any exercise is also important for the exam. Now, how many nations will be participating? So, apart from India, 12 other nations will participate. You don't need to remember the name of the nations, but just have an idea that all the friendly nations were involved. For example, Bhutan, Cambodia, Indonesia, etc. etc. Now, next article is related to National Commission for Scheduled Caste. So, recently what happened? National Commission for Scheduled Caste have gave a notice to the Punjab Census Office. And what was the why that notice was given? Because recently various Dalit communities in Punjab, have what you can say have given a notice or have raised a problem that many kind of words which are used for these communities in the census form. At present, these words are considered socially derogatory. So that's why these committees have asked Punjab Census Office to remove all these kind of names. That's why this issue was raised by National Commission for Scheduled Caste. So this was the overall issue. What is the issue? That earlier the terms which were used for the identification of these communities in the census forms, now these words are used as a slang in local language. So that's why people are raising issue that we do not want all these kind of words in the census forms. And because of that, National Commission for Scheduled Caste have issued notice to the Punjab Census Office. Now, basically, who raised this complaint? So, the collective complaint was submitted by the National Commission for Safai Karmachari. So, since this complaint was raised by this commission, let's quickly discuss about this National Commission for Safai Karmachari. So, if we talk about this commission, so first of all, if we talk about any body, you must know that whether it is statutory, it is constitutional, it is extra constitutional, what kind of body it is. So please remember, earlier National Commission for Safai Karmachari was a statutory body. Earlier it used to be statutory body. So under which statute it was made? It was made by the same act, National Commission for Safai Karmachari Act 1993. But in 2004, it was converted into non-statutory body under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Now, if we talk about the structure, so basically it contains chairperson, vice chairperson, as well as 5 other members. And in those members, it must include one woman. So this is the basic structure. And the mandate or functions you can easily predict that basically its main function is to recommend the policies for the welfare of Safai Karmacharis. Its main function is to look forward for the complaints which are raised by the communities of scheduled caste, all these things. Now, next article is related to an important mission, and that mission is SMILE. So recently, a joint mission that is SMILE mission was in news, and this was a joint effort of Chinese as well as European Space Agency. So let's discuss what is this SMILE mission. So basically, the full form of SMILE is Solar Wind Magnetosphere Ionosphere Link Explorer. What is the who has launched this mission? This was launched by China and the European Space Agency. Now, first of all, let's discuss the objective of this mission. Understand this objective, you must understand the basic concept. What is this basic concept? See, this is sun and this is earth. And these lines which you are seeing, these are the earth's magnetic field. All these lines are the earth's magnetic field. And just a second. All these lines are the solar winds or solar particles. These are solar particles. Now, important thing here is that these solar particles which are coming from the sun are very harmful for any life on any planet. Now, though these solar particles are coming from the sun, but why life on earth is still existing, or why atmosphere on earth is still existing? Because these solar particles are very dangerous and they can vanish life from any planet. So the answer for this is our earth is protected from all these solar particles because of its protective shield. And that protective shield is called magnetosphere of earth. That means the magnetic lines of force. So what these magnetic lines of force will do, they will try to deviate all these solar particles from the earth's atmosphere, and hence life on earth remains protected. So the main objective of this SMILE mission is to capture the X-ray image of this interaction of magnetic lines of force and solar particles. So see, Earth, we know there is magnetosphere around the Earth. We know there are magnetic lines of force, but you cannot see those, right? So basically, in order to get a clear picture, the scientists want to create an X-ray image. X-ray image of what? How solar particles are interacting with the magnetosphere or the magnetic lines of force of the Earth. This was the overall mission. So if we talk about prelims, what is important? First of all, who launched this mission? So it was launched by China as well as European Space Agency. What is the objective? Objective is to create the X-ray image of interaction of solar particles as well as the magnetic field of Earth. Now, why all these things are important? How these things will help scientists? So basically, it will help scientists to have the understanding of space weather. So because if you have the idea that how solar storm is behaving, you will have the idea of space weather. And if you have the idea of space weather, then you can protect your astronauts who are going in the space. So if you have the idea of space weather, you have the idea of space storms, you will plan very nicely for the future upcoming space missions. Now, next article is also related to the previous article. So here we shall be discussing about the Zorn-Wolf attack, Zorn-Wolf effect at Mars. So see, recently, what were the findings by the scientists? That recently this Zorn-Wolf effect was seen at Mars. So first of all, let me give you a basic idea about Mars. So if we talk about Mars, so Mars do not have any kind of atmosphere here. Mars do not have any kind of atmosphere, or even if it has, the atmosphere is very thin on the Mars. Next thing is Mars does not have any magnetosphere. That means Mars does not have any protective shield like Earth. That's why, since Mars does not have any protective shield, that's why solar storms have wiped out the complete atmosphere on the Mars. That's why there is no atmosphere on the Mars. This is the background. Now, recently, scientists have observed Swan-Wolf effect at Mars. Why this thing is important? Because Swan-Wolf effect can only be seen on the planets which have the magnetic field. Because this effect arises when the solar storms or when the solar particles interact with the magnetic field. So this effect can be seen only on those planets. So what will happen in this Zorn-Wolf effect? See, for example, these are the solar particles which are coming from the sun, and this is your Earth's surface. So what the magnetic lines of force on the earth will do? See, when these solar particles will reach the Earth's magnetic field, when they will interact, these solar particles will squeeze these the magnetic field of Earth will squeeze these solar particles. So you can understand through this analogy. For example, you are pushing the toothpaste through a narrow tube. So there, what is happening? Particles are being squeezed through a narrow tube. So here also, when solar particles will reach the magnetic lines of force, these magnetic lines of force will squeeze these solar particles, and this squeezing effect is known as Zorn-Wolff effect. So this effect can only be seen if there is magnetic field, but this thing is also recently seen on the Mars. So how this finding will help us? This finding will help us to clearly understand the atmosphere on the Mars. And in future, maybe if India or any other country plans the visit of astronaut on Mars, then also it will help us to protect the astronauts or to detect what all things are happening with the astronauts. Now, next article is related to privilege notice. So recently, Jairam Ramesh, who is member of opposition party, has moved a privilege notice against the Union Education Minister of India. So first, let's understand the complete issue. So as you know, because of the recent NEET UG paper leak controversy, various questions are being asked from the government of India. So recently, a question was raised that various parliamentary committees earlier, various parliamentary committees have given different kind of recommendations to reform this NEET UG examination. So now questions are being asked from the government that why those recommendations were not implemented till now. Because if those recommendations were implemented, maybe this controversy would not have happened, or maybe this paper leak would not have happened. So this question was asked from the Union Education Minister. So what Union Education Minister reportedly did, he said that since these parliamentary committees consist of opposition members also, so we are not giving much attention to these parliamentary committees. And from here only all the controversy started. Why? Because these parliamentary committees are considered as the mini parliaments. Why they are considered mini parliaments? Because they contain member from the government also, they contain leader from various opposition parties also, they contain various experts also, and their main role is to scrutinize each and every step of government of India. That's why we are saying that these are considered as mini parliaments. Now if the government only is saying that we are not giving any attention to these committees, since these contain opposition member and they can say anything, so this goes against the parliamentary democracy of India. Because if you are not respecting these mini parliaments, you are not respecting the overall democracy only. So that's why this overall issue was raised. Now, since this question was in privilege motion, so let's quickly discuss about what is privilege motion. So basically, this is a motion which is concerned with the breach of parliamentary privileges in India. Breach means any kind of privilege which is provided to MP has been violated or breached. Now, what is the complete procedure? That if you want to move the resolution, so what all will be the steps? So first step will be that first level of scrutiny will be done by the chairperson of that house, so either speaker or a chairperson of Rajya Sabha. So first of all, these all authorities will scrutinize the complete issue, and they will decide whether to adopt that motion or not. Now, yes. Hmm. Okay, so recently this privilege motion was moved in Rajya Sabha, So it was moved under rule number 222. Sorry, this was moved under rule number 187 of Rajya Sabha. So if it was moved in Lok Sabha, it will be under rule number 222. You don't need to remember the numbers, just it was given in the article, that's why I am discussing. Now, since privilege motion was related to breach of parliamentary privileges, so you must have an idea about the parliamentary privileges also. So basically, if we see the word privilege, so privilege means rights, immunities, etc., etc. So various kind of rights or exemptions which are enjoyed by the two houses of the parliament or their committees. Important thing here is, if we talk about parliament, so parliament consists of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, as well as President of India. But if we talk about the parliamentary privileges, so these privileges are given only to the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and not to the President of India. Please remember it for the exam, because Article 361 provides many privileges to the President of India. That's why these privileges are not given to the President. Another important thing is, apart from member of parliament and ministers, these privileges are given to the Attorney General of India also. Now, if I ask you the question that whether all the privileges are mentioned in the Constitution of India, so answer will be no. Just Article 105 mentions two kind of privileges. First is freedom of speech in parliament, and second is right of publication of its proceedings. These are some of the prelims related points. Now, next important article is related to recent visit of Prime Minister of India to Nordic countries. Okay, so first of all, you must know the reason that why amid this West Asia crisis, why amid this amid this geopolitical instability, Prime Minister of India visited Norway or Nordic countries. So reason for this is, since overall world is going through energy crisis, and these Nordic countries are very strong in the energy generation technologies, are very strong in the renewable energy generation. That's why India wants to make a kind of partnership or collaboration with all these countries. So basically, recently Prime Minister visited Norway, and it is expected that they will deepen the cooperation in LNG supplies, in clean energy, in blue economy, etc., etc. And here, India and EFTA, Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, is also being discussed. So basically, what was the purpose of Prime Minister's visit to Norway? Main purpose was to diversify the energy resources, because at present we are mainly dependent on West Asia for oil supply or for natural gas supply. That's why India wants to diversify its resources, as well as India wants to reduce its dependence on the fossil fuels. And here, important discussion is about the India and EFTA, Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. So, Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement is a kind of free trade agreement. Now, important for you to know is the EFTA. So, here we shall be discussing what all countries will come under EFTA. Before discussing EFTA, first of all, let's discuss about Nordic countries. That what all countries are part of Nordic. So, who are those countries? Those countries are, yes, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, as well as Iceland. So these are the 5 Nordic countries. What are those countries? Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, as well as Iceland. So now India is trying to India is trying to collaborate with all these Nordic countries to diversify the energy resources. Now, next, we have to discuss about European Free Trade Association, because India is considering a free trade agreement with European Free Trade Association. So first of all, you must know the countries, because the countries under EFTA are not same as the country under Nordic nations. So what all countries are included in EFTA? So countries are Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, as well as Switzerland. So these are the 4 countries under EFTA. If we talk about prelims related points, the important thing is this is an intergovernmental trade bloc which is composed of 4 countries. It was established in 1960 and main purpose was to promote the free trade and economic integration. Now India is considering free trade agreement with European Free Trade Association. So I think under this European Free Trade Association, not many things are important, especially for the prelims. So I think I will be skipping for today. Now, next important article is related to DNA maps, which are recently used by the scientists to expose the pangolin trafficking hubs. So here, first of all, we will discuss how DNA maps are used to expose these trafficking hubs, then prelims related points related to pangolins. So see, recently what scientists did, scientists tried to create many DNA maps. Okay, so here the main objective of the scientist is to know the original source location of pangolins so that we can know that okay, pangolins were brought from that place to here, that means they were trafficked. So here the method what they are using is to make the DNA maps. So what scientists will do, they will create DNA maps of pangolins which they found from various sources. For example, some of the DNA you can get from forest, some of the DNAs you can get from zoo, some of the DNA you can get from museums. So based on the collection of all these DNAs, a DNA map will be created. Now what scientists will do, scientists will match this DNA from the DNA map to various kind of destinations where pangolins can be found. So for example, scientists can match one of the sample of this DNA map to a forest. And if this DNA matches with this forest, that means the source location was this forest and pangolins were trafficked to any other destination. So this is the meaning of This was the meaning of genomic reference map. So how this map will help us? This can trace the trafficked pangolins back to their original forest habitats. What scientists will do? They will try to match the sample of this DNA map to various habitations where pangolins can be found so that scientists can trace them. Now, according to recent study, what are the important hotspots of pangolins trafficking? Hotspots are Southwest Cameroon, Myanmar, Indonesia, and several other regions across Africa. So how we found this? We found this based on the reference map. Second important thing what scientists used was the gene capture method. So basically gene capture method will also help us to create the DNA map only. But gene capture method can help us to recover the DNA even if the sample is very old. But even if sample got damaged, then also using gene capture method, you can create the DNA map. If we talk about the reasons that why pangolins are trafficked, so there are various kind of reasons. First thing is, pangolin scales are used in the traditional medicines. That's why they are trafficked a lot. Second thing, meat of pangolin is also consumed. And third, pangolin skin is used for the luxury products. So pangolin scales contain an important thing that we call as keratin. So it is used in various kind of cosmetic products. Now quickly let's discuss prelims related points about pangolins. So what are those points? First important thing is pangolins are nocturnal mammals. That means they are active mostly at night. How do they live? They live by digging the burrows in the ground. And they are carnivorous animals, so they feed on ants as well as termites. Each and every point is very important for the prelims, where what we are discussing about pangolins. Yes, look for the picture also. This is how pangolin look. So these are the scales on the body of pangolins which are used in the medicines. Now, if we talk about the role of pangolin in the ecosystem, so the role is very vital because they help in aeration and adding moisture. Basically, we discussed that pangolins, how they live by digging the burrows in the ground. So by when pangolin is digging the burrow, so it is making the no, it is uh, trying to what we can say, that it is trying to aerating the soil. That means air can easily enter the soil because it is making the soil loose. That's why through the and through if the soil is loose, that means moisture can also enter the soil. If we talk about the appearance, so they contain various kind of scales which are made of keratin, and this keratin is used in various cosmetic products. Important thing here is, because this thing was already asked in the prelims, that when they are threatened, they can roll into a ball to protect themselves. So see, actually I have added a PYQ also. This was the question which was asked in 2021. What was asked in 2021? These three animals were given. Question was asked, to reduce the chance of being captured by predators, which of the above organisms rolls up or roll up and protect their vulnerable parts? So here pangolin was also one of the options. So that's why I'm saying whenever you read about any species, please read about the basic characteristics. It will help you to eliminate the options. So here, please remember that whenever pangolin is threatened, it can roll into ball and protect itself. If we talk about the habitat, it has wide range of habitat. That means you cannot say that pangolin live just in the equatorial forest or they live just in the dry forest. They can live in the tropical forest also. They can live in the bamboo forest, grasslands, agricultural fields, anywhere. So they can be found anywhere. If we talk specific locations in India, so India contains two type of pangolins, Indian pangolin also as well as Chinese pangolin. So what are the regions in India? So basically they are found in Bihar, West Bengal, Assam, so some of the northeastern states as well as Bihar and West Bengal. Now for any now for any species, IUCN status is very important. So if we talk about Indian pangolin, so Indian pangolin is endangered. IUCN status is endangered. If we talk about Chinese pangolin, so they are critically endangered. That means they are trafficked more than Indian pangolins. Now, next article is related to a recent ordinance which was promulgated by the President of India. And that ordinance was related to increasing the strength of Supreme Court judges. Let's discuss the news. So recently, President of India has approved an ordinance which was related to increasing the strength of Supreme Court judges. So earlier strength of Supreme Court judges was 34, including the Chief Justice of India. Now, since this ordinance is issued, so the strength has now become to 38. Important thing here is why this ordinance was issued. Why Parliament did not pass any law, or why Parliament did not pass constitutional amendment law. The reason for that is at present Parliament is not in session. See, Parliament does not sit for all the 365 days. There are various sessions in which Parliament sits. For example, budget session or monsoon session or winter session. At present, this is the recess of Parliament. So maybe Parliament will start its sitting in the monsoon session. So maybe July or August. So at present, this is the recess session of Parliament. That's why it is not in session. But if even after Parliament is not in session and if any emergency comes, then comes the role of ordinance. So through ordinance, the President of India can promulgate any ordinance, and whenever the sitting of the Parliament starts or resumes, so whether either it can be rejected by the Parliament or it can become a law. So that's why ordinance was issued, because recently Parliament is not in session. Now, next important thing is that what was that ordinance? That ordinance is Supreme Court Number of Judges Amendment Ordinance 2026. So now Number of judges will become 38, including Chief Justice of India. Here, article under which ordinance is issued is very important for the exam. Article 123 provides the power to the President of India to issue ordinance only when Parliament is not in session. Even when either both houses are not in session, and even if only one house is not in session, then also ordinance can be issued, because in that case, even when one house is there, then also law cannot be passed. So that's why ordinance will be issued under Article 123. Now quickly discuss some of the provisions under Article 123. So first thing it says that ordinance can only be issued when both houses are not in session. Okay, when houses are in session, law will be passed. If they are not in session, ordinance will be promulgated. This point was already asked in exam. Ordinance making power of president is not a discretionary power. That means this cannot be decided by the president on his own. This has to be done on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, which is headed by the Prime Minister. Please remember, this is not a discretionary power. This can only be done on the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. Now, an ordinance can only be issued on the subjects on which Parliament can make the law. For example, Parliament cannot make any law which is violating fundamental rights of citizens. So, similarly, President of India cannot make any law on which Parliament cannot make the law. Next thing is the time for which, if I ask you what is the time period for which any ordinance can exist. So see, Constitution says that the maximum duration between two sessions of the House cannot be more than 6 months. So that means when the House is not in session, any ordinance will exist for 6 months. And after the House comes in session, both the houses have to decide within 6 weeks that what has to be done with the ordinance. So either ordinance will be converted into law or that ordinance will be rejected. So maximum after resuming of the session of the House, ordinance can survive for 6 weeks. So here, what is the maximum time period for which ordinance can survive? It will be for 6 months and 6 weeks. This thing was also asked in prelims, so that's why please remember this. Now, next article is related to Ebola outbreak. Why it is important? Because recently World Health Organization has declared Ebola as international emergency. So that's why this is very important. So what is the news? That recently Ebola outbreak has been declared as public health emergency of international concern. Meaning, though that particular disease or virus did not spread in all the countries, but it has the capacity to move very quickly or to transfer from one country to another very quickly. That's why has been declared as public health emergency of international concern. So earlier, if we talk about the coronavirus COVID-19, so earlier Corona was also declared first public health emergency, then it was declared as pandemic because it had the capacity to move from one country to another very quickly. Now, why this article is very important? Because the outbreak which is caused by Ebola virus is related to the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola virus. So for this, first of all, let's quickly discuss about the various strains of Ebola virus. So basically, mainly Ebola virus has 6 kind of strains. Out of those 6, 3 strains are the disease causing. The first strain is the Ortho-Ebola virus Xirenes. Second strain is Ortho-Ebola virus Sudanese. And third strain is Ortho-Ebola virus Bundibugyonis. So that's why this virus is called Bundibugyo virus. So here news is related to this strain. So recently Ebola outbreak in Africa is caused by Bundibugyo virus. Now, why it is important? Because if we talk about ortho-Ebola virus Zaidini, so we have mainly 2 vaccines for this ortho-Ebola virus. But we do not have any vaccine for the Bundibugyo strain of virus. That's why this virus is very dangerous. Now, here article is also discussing the major places where the outbreak took place. So here the major places are the Ituri province of the Eastern Congo and Kampala in Uganda. See why I have highlighted these places, because Ituri have already been asked in prelims that Ituri and North Kivu belongs to which country or belongs to which region. That's why whenever any important places are in news, we shall be discussing through map. First of all, let's look at this news, the place. So here, the outbreak took place in Democratic Republic of Congo, and this is the province of Ituri, and this is the border of Democratic Republic of Congo with Uganda. This is the border. So Ituri is the bordering province of Congo, which has border with Uganda. So outbreak took place in Ituri, and then it moved to Kampala. Kampala, which is the capital of Uganda. So can you see the border? The virus is moving, the border is moving, the virus is moving across the border. So that's why this has been declared as the public health emergency. Okay. Now I think we already discussed about the virus. Okay, so we discussed about the strain of virus, discussed how this virus is caused. Okay. Okay, so if we are talking about the Ebola virus disease, so it is a fatal infectious disease which can infect humans as well as other primates also. And the strains we already discussed. If we talk about the origin, so this virus was first identified in 1976. It was identified in Democratic Republic of Congo only, and identification was near river Ebola. That's why the name is given Ebola. If we talk about the transmission, so animal to human as well as human to human, both kind of transmissions are possible. So it is zoonotic also. Please remember, if UPSC asks the question, UPSC give 2-3 diseases and ask how many of the above diseases are zoonotic. So if Ebola is the option, then Ebola will be a zoonotic disease. So when we are talking about animal to human transmission, so here fruit bats are considered the natural host of Ebola virus. Okay. And yes, we were talking about the two licensed vaccines of Ebola virus. So these are the two vaccines. But these vaccines are available for the ortho Ebola virus Zyrenes and not to the Bundibugyo strain. Now, next important article is related to Amur falcons. So see, Amur falcons, these birds are very, very interesting because these birds can fly between the continents across the oceans without even stopping once. So these birds can cover the distance of around 6,000 kilometers without stopping. That's why these birds are very important. So here the article discusses about the satellite tagged Amur falcons. So first of all, let's discuss why these Amur falcons are important. Yes, please look through this map. Yes. Yes, just a sec. Okay. So here, if we discuss about Amur falcons, so basically Amur falcons have important wintering grounds in Africa. So here, Africa is the important wintering destination for Amur falcons, and this complete region of East Asia is important breeding grounds for Amur falcon. So basically, when these birds are moving from Africa to East Asia, so in India, these birds take halt. And since these birds are taking halt in India, that's why it is very important for Indian states where these birds are taking halt to conserve these birds. Because if these birds will not get a very good environment or very good habitat, they cannot survive and they cannot reach to their breeding grounds. So this overall complete article is related to that only. So basically, here the article discusses about the satellite tagged Amur falcon. So yes, Indian states have satellite tagged some of the Amur falcons so that we can trace their journey and we can promote some of the conservation efforts to protect this Amur falcon. So recently Union Home Minister Recently, Union Home Minister said that two of the three falcons which were tagged by the Manipur state government have begun their spring migration after spending more than 4 months in the southern Africa. So, what Indian states did, Manipur have satellite tagged some of the Amur falcons. So, if they are satellite tagged, we can trace their journey. If we are able to trace their journey, then we can start the conservation efforts that these birds might be coming for their hold. So let's prepare the habitat for all these birds. Now, if we talk about the Amur falcons, the first important thing is that these are small, agile birds. Agile birds, reptile birds means these are the carnivorous birds who depend on the other snakes or birds for their food. Migration, we already discussed that they have wintering grounds in the Africa and they have breeding grounds in the Southeast Asia. Feeding, we already discussed that these are insectivorous. Now, earlier what happened, because of the destruction of habitat, a lot of Amur falcons died and a lot of Amur falcons were killed also in India. But over a period of time, because of the awareness campaigns, now Amur falcon population have increased in India. More and more birds are coming. If we talk about the IUCN status, so their status is least concern. Now, quick practice questions for you. First is, with reference to Amur falcon, consider the following statements. First is, it is a migratory bird species known for one of the longest transcontinental migrations among raptors. Second, it breeds in Eastern Asia and migrates to Southern Africa during winter. And third is, India lies along its important migratory routes, especially through the northeastern region. So please try to give answer of this question in the comment section. Okay, so I think I have 4 or 5 practice question more. So basically what I will do, I will upload this PDF on our Telegram channel. So please you go through the content once again and then you try to attempt all these questions. Okay, so I think that's all from my side for today. Thank you. Have a nice day and all the best for your exam.